Have you ever wondered how Jungkook makes Taehyung smile behind the scenes? Get ready to be surprised by the secrets behind their friendship that have never been revealed before. Let's read it to the end, and don't forget to leave comments, like, and subscribe to continue to support the emotional news from the BTS world that you have never heard before. Have you ever seen Taehyung's smile suddenly appear for no apparent reason during a concert? Or those moments when his gaze looks so warm just because of one small gesture from Jungkook? No one expected it before, but now one after another the riddle begins to unfold. What exactly did Jungkook do? How can he be the greatest source of happiness for his best friend and Hyung in BTS, Kim Taehyung? Before you continue, make sure you subscribe to this channel, click the like button, and leave a comment about who you are in BTS and your favorite sweet moments from duo Jungkook. Because what you're about to read isn't just news. It's a touching, shocking, and heartwarming story that unravels the deepest sides of the relationship between two idols who have accompanied us through the years at a grand concert with tens of thousands of ARMY shouting their names. The stage lights sparkled, the music beat. In the midst of it all, there was one silent look from Jungkook to Taehyung. A small signal that only the two of them understood. And right after that, Taehyung smiled. Not a stage smile, but that smile alive. A smile that comes from within, that cannot be faked. Some people think this is just part of the choreography, but they were wrong. It's deeper than that. It is a reflection of the emotional connection that has been built for more than a decade. But how did it all start? How could Jungkook understand Taehyung so deeply that he could lift his mood just by being present? We have to go back to their early days, when two innocent teenagers from different regions met for the first time in bighit's small hostel. Back then, they were nothing. No camera highlights, no big names. Just two young men who are chasing a dream and find each other's families on a long journey that is not necessarily endless. Taehyung is a mysterious boy. Funny, unique, but also sensitive. Many coaches and other trainees find it difficult to approach her because of her non-readable facial expressions. But Jungkook, though much younger, felt drawn to getting to know her more deeply. He saw something in Taehyung's eyes, a faint sense of loneliness, one that others might not know about. Jungkook starts doing little things, bringing Taehyung's favorite snack quietly, waiting for him to come home from training longer, or just sitting quietly with him without saying much. Of all of them, one thing that was most surprising was when Jungkook studied Taehyung's sleeping habits just to be able to adjust his sleep schedule and accompany Taehyung, who often had trouble sleeping when stress came. Yeah, you heard right. Jungkook adjusts his rest time to make sure Taehyung can sleep peacefully. Taehyung has a habit of daydreaming for a long time before going to bed, and I know he doesn't like being alone at that time. Jungkook said one day in an internal interview, which was never even released to the public. These are snippets from practice documentation sessions that bighit's internal team only keeps as an archive. But it's not just in their personal space that Jungkook shows his concern. When V had a mild panic attack backstage due to the pressure of a global concert, Jungkook was the first to hug him from behind, cover him from the other crew's view, and whisper, "Take a breath, Hyung. I'm here." Nobody knows this story because they refuse to talk about it openly. But the staff saw, and for them, that's the moment that really shows who Jungkook really is more than just the golden magne. There are times when Taehyung feels empty despite being in the midst of millions of fans. When popularity becomes a burden, not pride. And it was at such a moment that Jungkook did not give advice, did not try to fix the situation, but was simply present, playing guitar and singing old songs that Taehyung likes. Even when Taehyung just sat still and didn't react, Jungkook kept singing. It's like saying, "I'm going to stay here, whether you listen or not." An internal source even mentioned that there were times when Taehyung considered taking a long break because of the emotional burden he felt. It was Jungkook who took him on a night tour of Seoul, photographing stars and talking unscripted about their lives, art, and dreams when they were no longer young. That moment rekindled the spirit in Taehyung. Who would have thought that the way Jungkook made Taehyung happy was not with fancy surprises, not with big words, but with little things full of sincerity? Have you ever wondered why V often refers to Jungkook as a comfortable place? Now you know the answer. Everything Jungkook did, It wasn't because he had to, but because he wants to. Because for Jungkook, Taehyung is not just a best friend, but someone he protects in a way that only he understands. These relationships go much deeper than just coworkers or group members. It is a pure form of platonic love, full of honesty and empathy. So, do you still believe that happiness only comes from great things? Jungkook has proven otherwise. Now, let's turn to the question, what have you done today to make your loved one happy, no matter how small it may be? And if earlier we thought that the game of the industry was just about managing schedules and content, then we have underestimated the extent to which power can touch the most personal space of an idol. In internal documents leaked to the public through former staff of the HYB digital monitoring team, it is known that there is a member behavior monitoring system that is much more invasive than expected. The cameras in the rehearsal room that had been considered only for evaluation purposes were also used to supervise personal interactions, especially when these two names, Taehyung and Jungkook, were in the same room for more than reasonable time. In a red-coded report sent to the management section of the artist's psychology, it is clearly written, "Excessive interaction. It is necessary to limit mutual exposure in order to avoid uncontrolled emotional influence." At this point, you might start to question, is this still the entertainment industry, or is it a social experiment wrapped in a camera smile? Even the most natural human interactions, laughing together, hugging each other, writing letters, or simply sitting quietly in comfort together, are transformed into image threats. And that's the threat they're trying to suppress. When a staffer discovered Jungkook was keeping a private journal containing expressions of anger and dissatisfaction with the system, he was summoned by the HR team and asked to stop creating potential internal polemics. Yes, not because he did anything wrong, but because he was too frank in private writings that were not even intended for the public. One of the most jarring confessions came from a former personal security staffer who claimed to have overheard a loud argument between Taehyung and one of the creative directors simply because an album concept was too controlled. Taehyung said, "If you just need a doll, find someone else. I'm an artist, not a street commercial." The sentence is not only a symbol of resistance, but also shows the extent to which the conflict between freedom of expression and capitalistic control is entrenched behind the glitter of this industry. There were also internal reports that during the global promotion of one of Jungkook's solo projects, management hid a collaboration request from an internationally renowned artist because it was not aligned with the company's branding values. Jungkook really wanted the project to be a turning point in his career as an independent global artist, not just as a member of a group. But the choice is limited. His vocals are arranged, his movements are curated. Even the media statements he gives have to go through 5 layers of censorship before they air. It's not just strict management, it's systematic silencing. While on the surface the world celebrates the freedom of artists, what happens behind the scenes is much more bleak. There are systems that filter emotions, kill spontaneity, and force them to keep smiling even when their hearts are dry. Jungkook, during one of the live shows that was removed a few minutes after it aired, muttered softly, "Sometimes I feel like I'm just singing so others can breathe, but I drown myself." The words disappeared from the recording, but not from the memory of millions of fans who heard about it. Some speculation has even begun to link Taehyung and Jungkook's rare public appearances together with an internal narrative split. A document from the Global Strategy Division mentions the term controlled separation as one of the strategies to maintain the demographic diversity of fandom. In other words, they believe that distancing the two most emotionally beloved figures will result in a more consumeristically stable fandom. Is this just a business strategy, or a form of psychological manipulation of the wider public? This control even extends to their personal lives. According to a source from the Personal Logistics Administration Division, Taehyung and Jungkook have a vacation scheduled. And while the public is beginning to understand that what is happening behind HYB's glass walls is not just a professional conflict, but has touched the realm of emotional exploitation and concentration of creative power that kills the artist's personal identity, more and more recognition is emerging like an aftershock. One of the most shaking came from someone who had been on the internal mental health management team. In his admission, he said that during the pandemic, when pressure was mounting and some members were experiencing severe burnout symptoms, there were instructions from the company's top brass to not impress upon the public that there are psychological problems. Even when one of the artists expressed a desire to take a long break, the request was not rejected directly, but continued to be postponed and transferred to a virtual promotion at that time. According to this internal source, Taehyung and Jungkook were the two names that reported the most emotional exhaustion. However, the company's response is not handling, but rather diversion, assigning new projects, filming additional content, and distraction therapy in the form of visual interventions packaged as a working vacation. The camera is always present, and every emotion that comes out must be explained in a narrative that benefits the brand. Even the cries are selected, edited, curated. Their tears are no longer theirs. Even more cruel was the admission from someone in the content editing division, who claimed to have repeatedly received orders to cut too deep from vlog sessions or behind-the-scenes documentation. In one of the videos that was never released to the public, Taehyung purportedly stated, "Sometimes I don't know if I'm loved because of me or because of what I represent." The sentence was considered too reflective, too dangerous. Because if the public starts asking the same thing, then the HYBE building starts cracking from its foundation. From Jungkook's side, the controversy went wild when information emerged that 2 songs in his solo project were rejected for release, not because of quality reasons, but because the lyrical themes touched on alienation, trauma, and existential questions about his role in a world that likes him just because he's not who he is. The song was even said to have made the PR team nervous because it was considered to trigger extreme sympathy from fans, and most feared, trigger anger against the system. They fear Jungkook's honesty is stronger than their marketing strategy. They fear the truth could go viral. Tensions rose when it was discovered that not all members were treated equally when it came to solo project access. Jungkook, although very popular, reportedly experienced cuts in digital promotion funds because he was considered uncooperative when rejecting visual ideas created by an external team. While Taehyung, when he submitted a proposal to direct one of his MVS himself, received a cold email reply. "We appreciate the initiative, but we also have more experience in understanding the market." The translation? Shut up and follow the script. Several major sponsorship contracts involving Jungkook were reportedly canceled at the last minute due to too much personal control he wanted to maintain in the draft determination. He doesn't want to be the face of a product he doesn't believe in, but the company has targets, has numbers, has pressure from partners. Then the easiest solution for them, replace it with another face. It is moments like these that make the public ask, does HYB really support the artist, or just use it to the last limit of profitability? The scandal deepened when a former internal documentary script editor revealed that during the preparation of the members' individual travel documentaries, every part that touched on the emotional relationships between the members, especially Taehyung and Jungkook, had to be sensitively revised. It's not because there is wrong information, but because it's too true, too honest, too powerful to be released to the public. There were fears that if the closeness was too obvious, it would create the illusion of a non-professional connection that the agency could not manage. As it were, deep friendships and pure emotional ties are something that needs to be limited. What does all this mean? That is, we are looking at a system that not only regulates schedules and clothing, but also regulates who can love whom and how deep that love can be seen. It's not just image control. This is the engineering of emotions. And all this, all the harsh realities that are only now slowly being revealed raises a fundamental question that slaps our logic and conscience. Are idols people or products? Should Taehyung and Jungkook lose their right to be whole individuals just because they're part of a system too big to shake? Do they have to pay the price of global popularity by losing their freedom to feel, choose, speak, even love? And if the answer is yes, then we've all been a part of silent violence wrapped in glitter, promoted in campaigns, and sold in merchandise. Even when Jungkook and Taehyung try to present the honest side of themselves in the form of works, whether through lyrics, short videos, or messages on official platforms, they have to go through an absurd emotional sieve. Jungkook once wrote a short poem about losing direction when the sky is full of light, but the post was deleted in less than 3 minutes. A person from HYB's social media management team confirmed that they received direct instructions to avoid poetic content that could trigger rumors of inner distress. Instead of supporting honesty, the system is afraid of people who think and feel too deeply. In an audio file of an internal editorial meeting for BTS's 2021 documentary project, a producer is heard saying, "Cut down on footage that shows the two of them interacting outside of a work context. We don't want to generate relationship speculation that we can't control." The sentence shows the agency's fear of a narrative that develops organically beyond the control of the script. It's as if they want to shape their version of the story, while all forms of closeness that can't be sold instantly are considered dangerous. But what's most disturbing isn't just the attempt at control. It's how they play with public perception while still profiting from the chemistry they suppress. They know how much fans love Taehyung, and they use that for engagement. But when the two show that connection for real, they are pressured, asked to move away, and set up like show tools, not people. One former concert crew member revealed that there was a certain moment where Jungkook was asked to not be too responsive when Taehyung approached him on stage. If they get too warm, it triggers certain communities that are perceived as disrupting our global narrative, said the content supervisor who gave the order. It's not just narrative control. This is a systemic manipulation of the emotional closeness of two human beings who from the beginning built their careers together, trusted each other, and supported each other. While the public is made to believe that their togetherness is a fan service, the truth is far more complicated. They must choose between being true to themselves or staying afloat in a system that gives them a stage but keeps their mouths and feelings shut. Furthermore, it was leaked that one of the main reasons why Taehyung's solo projects were slowed down was his desire to include themes of longing and alienation in his visual work. She wanted to tell about the stress, anxiety, and loss of identity as an idol living in a golden cage. But the production team was deemed uncomfortable with the narrative of depression as branding. They prefer Taehyung, who is masculine, cold, exotic, and far from vulnerability. Even as Taehyung voices his desire to appear as his fragile self, the voices of power ask him to return to being an aesthetic symbol, not a human being. They don't want stories of burnout, trauma, or rifts. They just want visual consumption that sells. Same with Jungkook. When she wrote a song about feeling alienated amid her global popularity, a manager suggested replacing the lyrics with something lighter, easier to go viral on TikTok. He refused, but the end result was still overhauled. Even when she wants to talk about freedom and identity, she is directed to focus on the theme of universal love and attractive choreography. The song that was supposed to be a recognition of the heart turned into a market product. And what hurts the most? She knows, but she still smiles for the sake of her fans. Behind their smiles are arranged wounds. Behind their laughter was a caged silence. They are not only creatively controlled, but also emotionally, psychologically, even socially. Their togetherness, their friendship, their affection is not only not celebrated, it is used as a material for risk evaluation by the powers that be. An internal memo from 2020 states that the emergence of intense interactions between two specific members can create a polarizing fanbase and should be addressed with a content discipline strategy. The question now is, can we as spectators, as fans, as people, still turn a blind eye to a system that makes trauma a business strategy? Are we going to keep feeding this system with love and money?